This video is an introduction to using Shearwater computers and setting them up for open circuit tech diving. This particular computer is a Perdix AI. It's very similar though to the newer Perdix 2 and the Petrel 2 and 3. It doesn't have all the features that the new Perdix 2 and the Petrel 3 have, but they all share common firmware, so all these steps will be applicable to any of the Shearwater computers. So if you're not familiar with the Shearwater computers, the first thing you're going to do to turn it on is press both the left and right button together, and you'll get the splash screen that comes up. So the left button is known as the menu button, and the right button is the select button. This is the 3-gas nitrox mode. So if you have a brand new computer or you've reset the computer to the default settings, this is the mode that you'll be in. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go and change it to the OC tech mode. So we'll use the left button in order to scroll through the menus till we get to system setup. We'll use the right button to get into that menu. Now we're in the mode setup page, and you can see that there's little hints by the buttons to tell you what they do. So we want to edit this mode setup, so we're going to hit the right button where it says edit, and you'll notice that yellow hour drop down to mode. So this is the one that we want to edit first. So again, we have the hint that we want to edit this setting. So we'll hit the edit button once again, and now these hints have changed. So I'll use this left button in order to change what mode I'm in, and I'll use the right button to save it. And you can tell what you're changing by the yellow underline. So I'll hit the left button in order to change it, and there's our open circuit tech mode, or OC tech, that we want to get to. But we'll scroll through and see what other options we have here. So we have a gauge mode, a CC/BO or closed circuit bailout mode if you're using it with a rebreather, an air mode, nitrox single gas mode, back to the 3-gas nitrox mode, and then we'll leave it at open circuit tech, and we'll hit the right button to save it. Then we'll hit next to go down to our next setting, which is salinity. While we're here, we'll edit this. So we'll use that right button again to get into the edit. And then EN13319 is a brackish water setting, so somewhere between freshwater and saltwater. We also have the options for saltwater and freshwater, and I'm just using this left button to change the setting. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to saltwater, hit the right button and save that. Next, that arrow goes back up to the mode, and now I have next, so I can scroll through the setup pages, and we'll get to these pages next. Once I get here, I'll hit the left button one more time, and this will bring up my main page. So you see the main page has changed now, and now we're in that open circuit tech mode. So you can see on the bottom left here, open circuit tells us what mode we're in. Shows our gas mixture, so 21% oxygen, no helium. So air, we have an NDL, or no decompression limit. Our TTS, or time to surface. Our depth will be displayed up here. We have time will be displayed once our dive starts. We have our battery status, our surface interval, which will eventually show our stops that we need. And then this middle row will be the next thing we'll configure. We have a blank spot on the left. Our PPO2 is displayed in the center, and then we have another blank to the right. Now the next thing we want to do is configure this middle row and add some more information. So again, we'll use that left button to scroll back over to the dive setup. Use the right button to enter the dive setup menu. We've already configured in our mode page. So we'll go next, and we'll go to the center road page, and I just use the left button in order to move over here. So again, it's the same as we did for changing the mode. I now want to hit the right button to edit this screen. Now we can see the arrows move down to this left block here. Now you have 3 blocks that you can put information into. So one of these always has to display your current PPO2. So we'll leave that in the center row for now, and I'm going to hit edit again. And now you can see this left button is going to change. Right now we have none, and there's a bunch of different options that you can put in there. I'm not going to go through what every one means. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not so obvious. But I'm going to put MOD, or maximum operating depth, in there first. So once I'm done, that's what I want to do. I'll hit this right button to save that setting, and you see the arrows back on top. I'll hit next. I don't want to edit the middle row. I want to leave it as the PPO2. So I'm going to hit next once again. I'm going to edit this right side now. So hit the right button. Again, it says none. I know I'm changing it because it's highlighted or underlined. And I'm going to scroll through. On this one, I'm not going to put one piece of data, but there's an option to put multiple pieces of data in there by scrolling over till you get to what's called the mini display. And you'll notice instead of having the save, now I have the setup here. So this, if I hit the right button, will take me in to a similar menu that I had before, and I'm going to edit these as I did before. So I'll hit the right button to edit. So now to change this top one, I'm going to hit the edit button. And again, the change comes up next to the left button, and I can scroll through what I want to put up here. So in this case, I'm going to put my max depth. I'm going to hit save to save that setting. And then next, I want to leave gradient factor 99 on there, and then surf GF as my bottom. I'll hit done. And we're back to the center row page. I'm going to hit next. It's going to bring the arrow back up there. And now I can scroll back through all my menus. We're now up to system setting again. I'll hit the left button one more time, and now I'm back to my main page. Now you can see here my MOD is displayed in what used to be that blank left spot, and now I have 3 pieces of information on the right spot. I can also change the left block to be a mini display as well as the NDL, and I'll show you where that is in a little bit. But I can now, instead of just displaying 3 pieces of information here, I can display up to 7 pieces of information in that center row. Next, we'll look at some more system setups. So we'll scroll over to our system setup, use that right button in order to get into the menu. We've already configured our mode setup. So we'll go next. Now is our deco setup. So you can see here we have what algorithm we're using, in this case the Bowman with gradient factors ZHL16C. Next down is our gradient factors, or how conservative we want to be with our deco. We'll have an option for where we want our last stop, whether it's at 10 foot or 20 foot. This is that NDL display that I was talking about. So in this case, it's going to display our NDL, how much time we have remaining, and then after that, what our ceiling is for deco. And then our clear counter, which if we turn this on, will start a stopwatch that will show us how long it's been since we have cleared our deco. So in order to edit these settings, again, we're going to use this right button where it says edit. And it's going to drop that yellow hour down to conservative. To edit this, we're going to again enter it to edit. And again, you can see that below the 3 is now that yellow line, so we know we're changing that one. So if we want to change this to say 40 or 50, we'll hit next. It'll move it to the next slot. I don't want to change that, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. We'll leave it at 70, but let's say we want to go to 75 for our high gradient factor. We'll continue to hit the left button in order to change that till we get to 75. So now I would be diving gradient factors 50, 75. The first before the slash is our low gradient factor, and then our high gradient factor. What these numbers mean are outside of the scope of this video, but you'll have to do some research and decide what you want to dive. Then once we're done, we'll hit the right button to save it, hit next to go to our last stop. Again, using the same process, hit edit, and I will change this to 20 feet. We'll save that. I'm going to leave the no decompression limit display at ceiling, but if I edit it and change it, we have the option to put ceiling in there, gradient factor 99, surf GF at +5, delta +5, and then we can also do a mini display as we did in that center row, and we can put 3 pieces of information in there. We can also do NDL, which will just display NDL, and it'll just go to 0 once you hit your NDL limit. But I prefer to keep it on ceiling. And then we'll go ahead and turn that counter on so that I know how long it's been since I've cleared my deco. Hit save. Next, that arrow goes back up to the deco setup. The next setting we'll talk about is programming gases into your computer. So you'll want to only have the gases that you're carrying turned on the computer. These are the gases that it thinks that you have, and we'll do all the deco calculations based on these gases, and is going to assume that you're going to switch to those gases. So there's two places that you can change the gases. One of them is going back into the system setup, using that left key to scroll over. You'll get to the open circuit gas page, and it's similar to how we've been changing our other settings. You'll hit edit, it'll drop down. One thing to notice here is that you can turn these gases on and off. So you can have more gases programmed than you're carrying, but you can turn them off so the computer knows that you don't have them. The other thing to notice is this A next to the 1, and that's telling you what gas is active. You can't not shut off the active gas or edit it. So we'll hit edit, and if we try to change it off, it's going to give us this invalid error because we have no alternate gas to go to. We'll just hit the right button to hit OK. And then we'll go over next. And again, that yellow underline moves over to the 2. So in this case, I want to program 32% into my mix. So I will hit the change to get it to scroll up to 3. Next to move over to the next spot. And then hit the change button once more to get to 32%. Now again, it's standard that the first number is going to be your oxygen content and your second number is going to be your helium. So we're going to leave the helium at 0, hit save. Now that gas is programmed in there. So we'll do one more. So I'll go down to 2, hit edit. I'm going to turn this gas on so it knows I have it. I'm going to hit next, and this will be a rich deco mix. So we'll go up to and program 70% in there. I don't want to change any of the other ones, so I'll just scroll over next till I get to save, hit save. Now I have these two gases programmed into the computer. I'll hit next. Now I have exit, so I'll exit, go back up here. You'll notice it reorders your gas mixtures. It always has the most rich gas on top. We'll go over to next. We're back to where it says system setup at the bottom. One more push on the left button gets you back to your main screen. So the other place that you can go to edit your gases is if we go and use this left button to scroll over to dive setup. I'll hit the right button again to get into the menu, and then it comes up with define gases. So I can go to next and go to other settings, or I can hit the right button and define my gases. So I'm currently in the classic view, which has this big display of what gases I have. There's also a new view, which I will show you later on, and how to change those settings. So to edit it, we'll use this right button. I can turn it on and off, and it's the same way I was changing the gases prior in the last menu. So I'll go over next because I'm not going to change this gas. We'll hit save, hit next. 2 again is my active gas. Next 3. So if I want to program another one, I can hit edit, change this to on. And maybe I want to put a leaner mix in there. So we'll go to 40%. Now this, I have 40% programmed into the computer. Next, and I can program up to 5 gases in this computer. Next, we'll go through some more advanced settings in here that you'll want to know about. So we'll go back over to the system setup. Enter that menu, and we're going to scroll over until we get to our alert pages. So the computer, you can set up depth alerts, time alerts, and your low NDL alerts. So I'm going to go ahead and edit, and I'm going to shut these off. But you can turn them on and set them to whatever you would like. And again, it's the same process of hitting edit and then the change button. Our next menu screen is our display setup. So you can change units. In this case, my depth set to feet and then temperature set to Fahrenheit. You can also change your brightness, so you can change it to the different levels, as well as I just keep it in auto, altitude auto. And then if for some reason you want to wear your computer upside down, you can flip the screen 180 degrees. I'm not going to change any of these settings. You have your compass setting where you can calibrate it and add variation into your for magnetic compensation. And then you have your system setup. Here you can change your date, your time. The unlock is if you have a different algorithm that you'd like to use and you have the code for that, you can unlock that in the computer. Your log rate is how often the computer is going to take that snapshot for downloading it. If you want to download your dives and create that graph on a laptop or desktop, and then you can reset all your default settings. Now in the advanced configuration, you don't have to change anything in here, but it's nice to know you have these options. So we'll go to edit and we'll go to edit the advanced configuration. So page one, I'm going to edit, and you can change your main color. This is going to be the display colors that are your data field. So the number for the depth itself. So we have we have three options here. We have white, we have green, and we have red. I'm going to go ahead and change it to green, and you can see the colors have changed. Go down to title color. So this is the label for that piece of data. So the actual word depth, this is what the color is going to show. So we have more options here. We have cyan, blue, gray, white, green, pink, red. I'm going to set it to blue. End dive delay. So this is how long the computer is going to assume you're still on the dive after you've surfaced. So in this case, set to 60 seconds. So if I go back down to depth, within 60 seconds, it's going to count it as the same dive. The next option here is your battery icon. So currently it's set to surf plus warning. So it'll display the battery icon as we've seen on the main display when you're on the surface, and then it'll only display the battery if you get to a low battery warning while on a dive. So if we edit this, other options is it's always displayed. I don't like this because it makes the screen a little cluttered when I'm diving. Warning only, so it won't display on the surface or at depth until you have a low battery warning. And then back to surface plus warning, which I'll leave it there. And then this is what I was talking about, your gas selection. So you saw the big display. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to the new display. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me smaller text when I look at all my gases when I go to select them. However, it shows me all the gases at once so I can decide which gas I want. I will save that. Next, move to Advanced Configuration 2. This is the Advanced Config 2 page. I have the options to change what my minimum PPO2 is for my open circuit gas, in this case a 0.18. The next one is what I would like my MOD to be displayed at for my PPO2 for my MOD. So in this case it's set to by default a 1.4. However, I want to know at a 1.6, so I will edit this and change it to a 1.6. And now it'll tell me what depth I will hit a 1.6 with my current gas. The next is my deco PPO2. So this is the PPO2 for gas that I have to get below in order for the computer to tell me to switch. So if I have multiple gases and I get to a stop and my PPO2 for my rich gas drops below this 1.61, it's going to highlight my current gas in yellow and tell me that there's a better gas to switch to. So I'll leave that at a 1.61 because on deco I want to get as close to 1.6 as I can. Again, this is something you have to look through and do your research on what you want to set it for. So this brings us back to the advanced config page. Some other things you can find in here if we go to edit and go down is the system information. So this is nice. You can see what firmware version you are on here, what the serial number is. And there's updates that come out for firmware, and you need to use a laptop or desktop computer in order to update those. But you can tell what your computer is currently set at and go on Shearwater's website to figure out if you have the latest updates. So we'll go done. We're back to system setup. So now if you look, our MOD has changed and is a little deeper now because we went to that 1.6 versus that 1.4 for our MOD. Now, if we scroll through to the select gas, you'll see that unlike before when we were editing our gases, now we have this display where we can see all 3 gases at once. And I'll show you how to select the gases later on.